Hello and welcome to today's NinjaTrader Ecosystem webinar event. We have a very special event for you today with Steve of MTPredictor. I'd like to mention that it is important to understand that there are substantial risks in trading commodity future contracts and Forex. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you and will depend on your circumstances and financial resources. It is possible to lose all funds deposited with your broker and could even incur losses beyond these amounts. Please inquire at the link provided. For more information or for a copy of the full CFTC full risk disclosure. Also, please remember that these training webinars are not a solicitation nor recommendation, but simply educational in nature. This webinar is presented by NinjaTrader LLC, which is a technology company responsible for trading and developing the NinjaTrader trading software. Brokerage-related questions should be directed to NinjaTrader Brokerage directly at the information provided. The NinjaTrader ecosystem website is home to hundreds of third-party apps and services, all centered around the NinjaTrader platform. With new tools added nearly every day, NinjaTrader ecosystem is home to hundreds of apps and services. You could quickly and easily find the tools and services you're looking for with a simple keyword search. You'll also find information about upcoming webinars and an on-demand video archive to view event recordings at the link provided. For up-to-date information, be sure to like or follow NinjaTrader ecosystem on all social media platforms. I provided both our Twitter as well as our Facebook links in the chat window. NinjaTrader is always free for advanced charting, strategy backtesting, and trade simulation. To ensure you are on the latest version of NinjaTrader and pick up a free data trial, please visit the following link. You can purchase or lease NinjaTrader at the following link. If you are just getting started with NinjaTrader, we offer free live training on a daily basis. You can view a schedule of weekly webinars at the following link. We are very excited for this unique event in which Steve will demonstrate how to use MTPredictor with NinjaTrader to help manage risk. Thanks again for your attendance today. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome to the NinjaTrader webinar room, Steve. Please take it away, Steve.
Right. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me all okay? If you just bear with me for a second while I'm just starting the presentation.
Coming in loud and clear, Steve.
So I'd like to say a big thank you to Tiffany there for a great introduction, and I'd like to say thank you to NinjaTrader for inviting me in to do today's presentation. It's always a great pleasure to get together with NinjaTrader to do these presentations. We've been working with you guys for a great number of years now, so it's always good to come back on a regular basis to say hi to all your customers. What I want to do today is go through a presentation here where we have a look at various topics we'll come on to in a moment. So we'll be having a slideshow to start with, the presentation, PowerPoint. Then we'll come on to looking at some examples on the NinjaTrader 8 platform itself. Then we'll come to some questions at the end. So if you hold your main questions towards the end of the webinar, that'll be very much appreciated. If there's anything that you really want to ask as you go along, please feel free to type into the chat window as well, but I'll be doing the main questions at the end. Right, as usual, we have to do a risk disclaimer. I know NinjaTrader's done theirs already, but I just want to remind you that all examples in this presentation should be considered as hypothetical. No trades are actually taken. We're just here for illustration and trading purposes only. This is the biggie. Remind you there's a risk of loss in trading and investing. Put another way, all professional traders know and understand, but more importantly, accept that losses can and will and do unfold. We'll be looking at some losses in today's presentation as well, which is always important to talk about losses. I'd like to start with a bit of background first, because I'm guessing quite a lot of you guys who are in today are maybe unfamiliar with MTPredictor or haven't seen MTPredictor or haven't heard about me. So just a bit of background just to show you where I'm coming from. Basically, I started following the markets back in 1987, in actually August 1987, just before the 1987 crash. So that was quite a good baptism by fire in my career. But it basically means that I've been around following the markets for 33 years. So as you can imagine, I've seen quite a lot in those 33 years. MTPredictor itself as a program was launched in 2001. So, we're coming up for almost 20 years now. as a company, MTPredictor Limited, and programming our software. So MTPredictor as a company, again, has been around for a long time. You know, we're standing the test of time. We first started working with NinjaTrader back in 2005. And as you can see, we've been working with, well, right back since NinjaTrader 6.5 and now obviously in NinjaTrader 8. So some good pedigree. Right, let's start on a big thing that I want to start off with right at the beginning is I want to basically stress to all you guys that the way I approach markets is slightly, or analysis is slightly different for most people, in that first and foremost, I believe markets go in cycles. The reason of this is quite a long time back in my trading career, and I'm hoping quite a few of you have experienced this as well, is when you've designed a good trading system or bought a good trading system, suddenly it appears to not work. It sort of breaks down. And I obviously got frustrated like that, which I'm guessing quite a lot of you guys do as well. But it's suddenly had a sort of light bulb or an idea that came to me and said, right, okay, what if the markets are random half the time and the markets are predictable half the time? Doing a lot of reading back in the 80s, there was lots of books on the random walk theory of markets, and obviously technical analysis shows you that you should be able to predict where the markets are going. But the two seem to be in conflict. So what happens if they can both be true at the same time? And this basically revolutionized my approach to the markets, and it's the basis of what we look at the moment. And I think it's also the basis why I believe so many black box systems and so many systems are out there at the moment basically failed to stand the test of time, because basically half the time the markets are basically not doing what you want. The market's random. So it's best to only restrict your analysis to the 50% of the time, i.e. half the time, when the markets are making clear patterns. Now that sort of seems to make sense. So hopefully I'll build on that and show you how I fit that in with what we're doing here as the presentation goes on. The topics I'll be looking at today is position sizing. Position sizing, again, is probably a topic that not many of you are familiar with. Van Tharp, if you want to do some background reading, has done a lot of work on this. It basically allows you to keep your losses small and maximize your profits, which if any of you have read any trading books will know that's the fundamental basis for trying to have a successful trading approach. You must keep your losses small. You can't avoid losses. They always will happen. Losses must be kept small. Within our software, we have automatic setups, but we're not a black box system. The reason we're not black box is because the markets are random half the time. And I'll show you in a bit how we decide when the markets are non-random. But that's important, is that although we have automatic setups, we're not a black box. I want to show you also our decision point, which again is the basis around where we decide when the market patterns start to become clear. And then a couple of other modules at the end for you guys who are into Elliott Wave. I'll show you a very quick tour of our Elliott Wave module, and also our manual risk reward if you're doing any advanced analysis yourself. Let's have a look at some charts. What is position sizing? Well, position sizing is basically what it says. It allows you to size your position based on your account size and percentage risk. Normally we suggest risking less than 2% of a sample $20,000 account or a sample account. We have the ability to add different account sizes in. So if you have a smaller account, you can place that in as well. You can also use your live trading, your live NinjaTrader trading balance account as well. But what we're doing is we basically calculate how many lots, contracts or shares to trade based on that account size. So if you're risking 2% of a sample $20,000 account, it would be meaning you risk $400. So when you're wrong, and that's the important point, this is what I want to stress, when you're wrong, i.e. make a loss, the loss is kept small to one risk unit. So what we're hoping to do over time, and again, this can apply to any trading approach you do yourself, is over time, you're hoping to make profits that are large, but not large just in dollars or euros or whatever currency you're trading, but large in relation to the losses. You've probably heard the old adage, keep your losses small, profits large. Well, this is what position sizing does. It allows you to keep your losses small and profits large. But more importantly, the profits and losses relate to each other. They will not relate to each other if you just trade one contract or two contracts or three contracts, i.e. a fixed contract number. It has to vary to keep the position size constant. So this is something you can take away and use in any trading system that you're looking at yourself, is position sizing allows you to keep your losses small and profits large. And that's a fundamental part in MTPredictor. Just a quick look at here. In our preferences, you can set up different size accounts, different currencies as well. You can also set what risk you want to use for them. So you can say you want to trade 2% on a future. If you wanted to say stocks, you might want to put that down to 0.05, i.e. 0.5%, or 0.01, because obviously stocks can't trade as much as futures. So you can set that yourself. So it allows you to do that. Losses. You probably don't hear many software vendors talk about losses, but it's something we focus on a lot because it's so important. And quite frankly, losses always will unfold. No matter what trading approach you're doing, you always will have losses. So I think it's important for software vendors really to focus on that and talk about that, particularly early on in their trading, their presentations, just to make sure that everyone understands that losses will always unfold. But because we use position sizing, those losses are kept small at what we call one risk unit. So what we're looking to try and do, and again, this can apply to any trading system you're looking at, is you want to keep those losses small at one risk unit, and then looking to have an approach that you have profits that are large in relation to your losses. This is why it's so difficult if you're scalping, because scalping, you're only ever making small profits, and then you can come out of those with a few big, large losses, and you can get wiped out. So we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to have an approach where the losses are kept small and the profits are kept large. So that's what we're looking to try and do. One major part of our software is that we have automatic setups. They come on the charts. You'll see that when I bring up some live charts a bit later. But we're not a black box system. I said that right at the start because I don't believe black box systems will generally stand the test of time. Why not? Because right at the start, if you remember, I said markets are random half the time. So this is what happens is most black box systems or most approaches, they tend to fall apart when the randomness comes through in the markets. And this, again, is why I decided to try and factor that into MTPredictor. In other words, only try to look when the picture becomes clear. So the question I can see that you're all going to want to ask me is, okay, great, Steve. That's all well saying that, but how do you decide when the picture's becoming clear? Because as a trader myself, that's something I really struggle with. How do you know when the picture's becoming clear? Well, for us, this is where we use what we call our decision points. Our decision points are areas that we can put on the chart in advance. That's really important because they're leading indicators. They're out there in advance, ready before the market gets there. And they are areas where we anticipate, not project, we anticipate the market's going to make a reversal. It's a bit like fishing. You don't go fishing expecting to have a fish jump out at you. You put your rod in or the line in the water and you wait till the fish comes to you. So this is what we're doing here is we project out our higher time frame support and resistance zones. We then see if the market is reacting as we anticipate at that zone. In other words, if it's going up, whether that resistance area reverses the market and the market does indeed reverse as anticipated. If it does, we then deem the market is picture is clear, and therefore we can know what the large degree trend is. And then we look to take trade setups that are in that trend. We also have a color-coded trend indicator down here. That is not, again, to be followed blindly because we're not a black box system. We want that to then go red if the market is indeed coming off a higher time frame resistance zone. We want it to be blue if it's going up off a higher time frame support zone. So in this example, you can see here you obviously wouldn't want to take that buy setup because we're coming down off this resistance zone and our MTP trend is red. Therefore, you like the look of this sell setup. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to look when the market is doing what we anticipate. If it's not, or the picture's not clear, we then look to move on to the next trade setup or the next market, or wait till the picture becomes clearer. It's about patience. It's about letting the market come to you, not go chasing it and getting basically lost along the way. Sometimes our DPs do very, very good jobs. Here's an example when I was doing this presentation quite a few months ago to send over to NinjaTrader. This was a 3-minute chart of the ES. This was back in January, actually. And here you can see our 15-minute or hard time frame DPs. Again, these were on the chart in advance. Managed to catch the low of the day, managed to catch the high of the day really nicely. And obviously the trend direction in between that was up. So knowing that you're coming off support, our MTP trend was blue, knowing that you were in an uptrend up until that potential resistance area would obviously benefit you because it got you in the right direction. In other words, it put a context on the day you're actually trading. Not only that the pitch was clear that day, but also what direction the market was anticipated to go in that clear picture. The market doesn't always react that well at these DPs. It'd be lovely if it did, but obviously that's because the market then goes into a random phase, and if it's not reacting at these levels, we then deem the market is unclear, and that's when we're looking to stand aside till the market becomes clearer. So it's quite a simple concept, and I think it makes perfect sense in that we're only looking to do something when the picture's clear. When it's not clear, we stand aside. Does that seem to make sense to everybody? Right. Just quickly, I'm going to have a quick look at our Elliott wave tool. And, you know, we've got a few more slides before we go to look at a few actual charts, because I'm sure that's the bit of the presentation you're all looking forward to. So our Elliott wave tool allows you to find all the major Elliott wave patterns. But the difference between our Elliott wave tool and most other Elliott wave software is we do the calculations in isolation. We do this because the markets are random half the time. I mean, this is the major thing that I found all these years ago, is that Elliott wave was great. It had some great patterns in it, but so many times it broke down. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if any of you have looked at Elliott wave in the past, it's probably had a bad press because so many times the pattern breaks down. It basically just gets in a right mess. And that's why so many people who've heard about Elliott wave basically have thrown it in the bin, because it just hasn't worked so many times after you've got what say should be a perfect pattern. I mean, it's the whole idea of Elliott wave is once you know where you are, you then know where the market's going, and therefore you can trade it. I've turned that on the head and said, right, I'm going to cut it to bits. So I'm going to say, right, once you come in at this would have been a higher time frame support or resistance zone not shown on this chart. That's where you start the sequence. So you use it in isolation, and then you look to work with your waves in isolation from a point where the market patterns become clear. You can also project levels in advance. So here, just going back a stage on that pattern, if you say you're at a wave 4, you can then use the tool to anticipate where, I say anticipate, not expect, where the next support levels or resistance levels, if you're going up, can come to. So this is probably a bit more of an advanced tool that not many of you will use, but I just want to show it's in the software. As with our manual risk reward, here you can actually start doing your own advanced analysis. In other words, you can place your decision points on to get areas of support and resistance, and you can then place your own risk reward in and around that to then look at what the profit potential would be. Remember, in risk units, we're not looking at just dollars. We're looking at risk units in relation to the risk required to take that trade, i.e. the loss that would unfold if your trade setup went wrong. So you can do a lot if you're a more experienced user with this to basically use the position sizing in and around your own trade setups, which is quite good if you're a bit more of an experienced user. We obviously have the market analyzer where we have our automatic setups and our Elliott wave patterns coming in the market analyzer as well. But we don't want to use the market analyzer as a tool to basically react. We want to anticipate where markets are going to be in advance and then use the market analyzer for more like confirmation. So it's a different way around. We're always looking to try and anticipate where the market will be in advance. You're prepared in advance, not just in a reaction kind of mode. Last thing I want to look at before we start moving on to some chart, which I'm guessing is the bit that you really want to look at, is we have what's called in our Pro version, because we have two versions, you'll see in a second, excuse me, we have what we call a trade module that allows you to place the trades really quickly, because we know what it's like if you're on short-term charts. It's really hard to basically calculate and then change how many lots you're going to trade or how many contracts you're going to trade and just basically do the whole lot quickly. So what we do with our trade module is it takes the information from our position sizing, puts it into our trade module when you place the analysis on. Then when you hit the trade button, it automatically then places, once you've done okay, obviously, places the correct number of contracts you can see there at the correct level as well. So it allows you to place your trade into the market through NinjaTrader really quickly. Then once the order's in there and working, it will then do some nice whizzy things, like if it goes to the stop level first, it will then cancel your orders. If it goes through and you're in a position, it will then place your stop order and your target order. You can then do lots of things as well with managing your trade as it goes with you. So our Pro version has this trade module, and it does make managing or entering and managing your trades quite easy, basically, and also quite efficient and quick. The last thing I want to talk about is price, which is what we always have to do, and from contact details. We only have two versions. When you buy MTPredictor as an add-on, you can use it in NinjaTrader 7 and NinjaTrader 8. We've got two versions, and we let you have both versions. So if you're using NinjaTrader 7, that's fine. If you're using NinjaTrader 8, that's fine. You know, whichever version you're using, you can actually have our add-ons for them. We have the normal tools, or all our main tools, at $149 a month is a subscription, or the Pro version that includes the trade module at $197. But if you want to ask questions on that later, you can drop us an email. Our website, mtpredictor.com, email sales@mtpredictor.com. Fairly standard contact details. I'll put those up again towards the end. Right. Shall we have a look at some charts then, if that's okay? So we've been talking for about 20 minutes. So let's have a look at some charts. Right, I want to start with some slightly longer term charts. And, you know, we obviously all know there's been quite a drop in the world stock markets. So I want to just go back a bit and see whether there are any hints that this, you know, there was a potential decline coming in. So this is a daily chart of the DAX. I'm going to start in the DAX because I'm actually based in the UK. So the DAX is the European, you know, it's the German stock market, the fairly major European one we've got over here. So as you can see, we did have an automatic MTPredictor sell on, I think that was the 20th of February, which was the very day of that high there. It gave us an automatic sell setup. So the question we then have to ask is, hang on a second, was the pattern clear at that particular point in time? How does that fit in with our higher time frame support and resistance zones? These are zones we place on the chart in advance on a time frame between 3 and 5 time frames high. It's like swimming in a river. You're looking to go with the flow. So let's just go out to a weekly chart. So for daily, if you're trading daily, you'd go out to a weekly. I just want to go back a bit. Okay, so this is what we want to try. We want to try and work in advance. This is what we do. We place our DPs on the charts. This was the last major pivot low. You can see on the chart pretty easily. That was the last major pivot low. We used the last swing into a higher low as our first place where we place our resistance, support and resistance zones on. So you'd have gone up to this high, right mouse click, you'd have chosen decision point from the menu, and can you see that's on the chart? Now I want to stress these decision points are on the chart in advance. We're looking to anticipate where markets may be making a reversal. Then if the market is making the reversal at the anticipated level, we then say the market picture is clear. That's when you can decide to make a trade. So if I could move out, that's what it did. It went right up to that level, is where it made the high. So when we come back down to the time frame you're looking to trade on, can you see how suddenly this picture becomes clearer? That you had a sell setup at higher time frame resistance. Our MTP trend had gone black to confirm that it was in the process of making a reversal. So can you see how suddenly that became a bit clearer? For you eagle-eyed people, you'll see there was a little triangle here. Do you see that where my cursor is? There's a little triangle here. This is what we call a history triangle. It shows that actually, if I right mouse click here, there was another trade setup at that time. That trade setup would have been stopped out with a loss. So it's awfully important, again, to understand that whatever approach you do, losses can and will and do unfold. But the point being is, any loss you'd have made there would have been minus 1R or one risk unit. It then came up, caught the high to the day absolutely perfectly. Where were you anticipating it was going to decline down to? Well, again, you go out to the higher time frame. The first place would have been the last swing off the high. So you'd have anticipated the first place would have been a support zone there. If that support zone is then exceeded, you'd have then gone out to the last major swing low, which was right back here. And again, this would have been on the chart in advance, okay? So when you're right up here, this support zone would have been on the chart in advance. And if we look at the DAX, that's what it's done. Bang, right down to that support zone, and that's, just take that one off, that is the rally we've had off that support zone. I'm guessing a lot of you guys are over there in America. So let's pop over to the ES. Here's the ES. This was the picture back in February time. Market making a nice strong rally. That's the last swing into that high. That was the last swing up there. That was the support zone if the market started to come down. The next level below that, there's the last major pivot low. That was the area that we had on the chart. Now, this is not just done in hindsight, because I know you guys can say it was easy to work in hindsight. We do a training webinar every week for customers. And basically, I remember saying at the time, as the market got down to this level, it got down to here to this level. I said the next level was down here. And I think my comment was, that's an awful long way for it to go, but that is where the next level was. And if we scroll out, that's exactly what it did. So basically, this rally we've had here, if I go back to the daily chart, off that low has actually been no surprise at all to the MTPredictor customers, because that was the support zone we had on the chart in advance. So needless to say, our trend was down into that level, and it's now been up since then. Obviously, I can hear you saying, where is it going to go from here? We all want to know that. Well, what I'm looking to do in Elliott wave terms, if this is a major high, this is the first wave down. There could well be a pattern unfolding at the moment. This is not the complete pattern. A pattern unfolding at the moment that could be a corrective high that could put us into a big wave 3 down. A lot of people are projecting that the markets are now have now turned and that we're in for a recession, a world recession, and therefore it's not looking good for longer term stock markets. I never like to agree with everyone. I always like to be on the other side of the coin. So although technically this looks like it could be a good position, if the markets rally up because we are in an election year, the level I would look at if, I'm not saying it's going to, but if the market did rally in an election year, be very wary for that level up there, for it to go there and then make a sharp reversal. Not saying it's going to, just saying if. Remember, we don't project anything. We basically anticipate levels in advance and then see what the market does going to those levels. Just do another quick couple of examples. Here's the euro. Again, I'll go out on a weekly chart. There's a last previous low. I'm going to go a bit quicker now because you've seen this all already. That would be the weekly support zone in advance. Go back to the daily chart. It comes down to the daily chart. Do you see how that setup was at weekly support? Right mouse click over the blue buy bar. That would be your trade setup on the weekly Euro GBP. This is what we're looking for, you see. We're looking for trades that have profits that are large. This one here was 11 times this initial risk. So this is what we're looking for, keeping our losses small, having our profits large. If you missed that one, then there was another trade set up here a bit later because we're coming off this support zone. Our MTP trend had gone blue here. This was another area of where you're looking for a good trade setup because the picture was clear. So that would be another good trade setup. Our first target would have been here at what we call the typical wave 3 WPT, because if any of you guys ever wanted to catch the wave 3 in Elliott wave turns, if any of you guys have heard about Elliott wave, you've heard that the wave 3 is the strongest and longest and the best wave to trade. Have any of you wondered how to catch it? Well, this is what we do here. Our W3 trade setup is designed to catch the wave 3. Would you have come out of this level? No, because our trend here is strong. I'm not going to go into the details of this because I haven't got enough time, but our trend was strong. You look to run it further. Where would you look at to run it further? Well, on the higher time frame. There's the last pivot high. That would be your resistance zone. Again, I cannot stress enough that these are on the chart in advance. So needless to say, on your daily chart, that would be a good place to then look to tighten your stops or come out the profit, because again, that would be a profit of almost 11 times your initial risk, i.e. a very good profit in relation to your losses. Let's come down to a smaller time frame. Let's have a look at another Forex chart. That's the Euro GBP. Just see what the market's doing here at the moment, shall we? Before this low came in, there was the last swing pivot. So I'd have placed the DP on from that last pivot and then seen what the market's doing on a shorter time frame when it gets down to that level. So if you're looking at a slightly shorter time frame, let's say the 4-hourly chart. So do you see what I'm doing? Exactly the same kind of thing on even a shorter time frame. Here's the daily support. If the market then makes a reversal or a setup at our higher time frame support, i.e. this time we're on a 240 minute or a 4-hour, then it's a good trade setup to take. Our MTP trend was blue stroke grey. There's our blue buy bar. Here's our position sizing. This then is a potential trade setup to take. So do you see how we're using the same consistent idea across different markets and different time frames? Let's go even shorter. Let's have a look at, this is the MES or the micro of the E-mini. I know a lot of people are using this because of the volatility recently. I want to go back to last Friday. So if we go back to last Friday, oops, I've just got the wrong chart there, sorry. If I go back to last Friday, now I want to show you this because it's not doing things in hindsight. It's basically only trading when the picture's clear. So for 3-minute chart, the higher time frame would be a 15-minute. So on Friday, which is what we've got here, where was Friday? Friday was back here, wasn't it? There was the last pivot low. We place our DP levels on, and you can see that it reversed at the level. Of course, I want to put one here just to show you the markets don't always reverse at our DPs. Please do not get the idea that these always work the whole time. That's not what we're trying to do. We're only trying to work with them when the market is doing what we anticipate, i.e. when the picture's clear. So now when we go down to the time frame you're looking to trade off, Again, I want to scroll back to Friday just to show you this one here. Exactly the same as our longer term Forex chart. Here, the market is making a reversal at support. In other words, the market's doing what we anticipate. In other words, the picture's clear. Our MTP trend has got blue. You're then looking to take trade setups in that direction. And this is a trade setup you're looking to take. And so this is on a 3-minute chart. Remember, position sizing taken care of. Here I'm actually looking perhaps at a $10,000 account. Perhaps we'll come down to a $5,000 account. Can you see how the number of contracts change? So it keeps your position sizing constant no matter what account size you've got. So here the profit was 11 times the initial risk. So a very good clear picture. What happened the next day? Well, it was an unclear pattern. In other words, it wasn't reversing off our higher time frame DP support and resistance zones. In other words, the picture wasn't clear. When it's not clear, you stand aside. So the day after, you're not really doing anything, even though there's automatic setups, because the picture's not clear. What you're looking to do is you're only looking to trade when you have a clear picture. That is the whole fundamental thing of what we're trying to do, is understand that markets are random half the time. Half the time you can't be doing any kind of analysis because they're random. That's really important to understand. And I think that a lot of you will sympathize with that, because I'm guessing in your own trading, you'll come to times when basically whatever system you're using doesn't seem to make sense. You've been taught how to apply it, but suddenly what you've been taught doesn't seem to make sense. And that's because the market has gone into a random phase. So rather than just binning stuff, you then wait till the picture becomes clear, as we have here when it's making a reversal of our anticipated support and resistance zones, and then you have a clear picture, and then you're looking to trade. Losses will come through, as we've seen, but the losses are kept small. So that's how we decide when the picture's clear. What we're doing is we're putting these higher time frame support and resistance zones on our chart. We're then seeing whether the market does indeed make a reversal at that higher time frame support and resistance zones. So in this case, you can see the market did make a reversal at that higher time frame support zone. Therefore, we deem the picture's clear. If, as I showed a minute ago, if now, well, let's have a look at perhaps today. So today is a good example. You can see here yesterday, the high of the day came in at 15-minute DP resistance. Very, very nice indeed. We then placed a DP support off here, and you see the market's gone through it. So today, there's our DP support zone. The market's gone through it. So today, the market pattern is not so clear. So that's what we're looking to do, is when it's not clear, stand aside. When it's clear, you then look to do trading. Let's just come to the normal E-minis here. Where are the normal E-minis? There we go. So that's the whole basis of what we're looking to try to do in MTPredictor, is I've basically taken the last 33 years of my experience, realized that basically markets are random half the time, clear half the time, then worked on a strategy to only do analysis when the picture's clear. In other words, doing the good 50% of the time, and worked out that if we try and place our support zones or resistance zones on a higher time frame chart, which I've called our decision points, then if the market is making a reversal off those levels, the market is then doing what we anticipate, and therefore we deem the picture's clear, then we can look to do trades in that direction. If we're then taking trades in that direction, you'll then make losing trades. But the idea is those losses are kept small by the use of position sizing. So over time, you have small losses and large profits. Right. Does that all make sense to everybody? Because I've been talking now for about 35 minutes. So what I want to do now is I want to open it up to questions, and I'm sure quite a lot of you have got questions, but hopefully they'll be kept in with the context of The markets are random half the time, and we're looking to only trade when the picture's clear. Michael's asked about where does it tell you when the profit targets are? As soon as the trade setup is complete. So on this TS3 sell setup, as soon as that red bar there is complete, you can then right mouse click, do analysis, and then it will place the target on your chart. It will then do the position sizing based on your count and your percentage risk, and give you the entry level, stop level, and your target level. So it'll do it all as soon as that bar is complete. On these setups down here, as soon as that bar is complete there, it will then give you exactly the same information. There's your target, there's your entry, stop, and obviously that one didn't work out. Again, it's important to show examples that don't work out. This one here did work out, and in fact, caught the low of the day nicely, and its profit at twice the previous loss would have, made up for that previous loss and some as well. So it tells you where the target levels are. And obviously when you have our trade manager on, if you're placing that trade, obviously I can't do it now, but then it will then, as you can see, place that order for you. Yes, Mark, you can trade crude oil. Like I said, we've been going for nearly 20 years now as MTPredictor. So we've got customers basically in pretty much every country there is. I know I've had a couple of questions about India. Yes, we trade in the Indian markets. We have customers basically in every major market, and basically they trade whatever markets that are local to them. So I can see I had a question about crude oil. We have people trading crude oil, E-minis, Forex. As long as the market is liquid and is good volume, you can basically apply these same principles. You can do candlestick charts as well if you want. It's up to you. You can do candlestick charts. The colored bars on there are basically our MTPredictor colored bars. Say blue's for buy, red is for sell, and black is for no trade direction or no trade setup. But they're only applicable at the trade setups. So I'm just going to go back for open, high, low, close. So that's the ones I like myself personally. Data feeds, it doesn't matter. Whatever data feed runs in NinjaTrader, it works for us. Because we work on top of NinjaTrader. Training, Peter, as far as training, we have weekly training webinars. They're free for customers. So you can come in every week. We don't charge extra for customers. Sorry, we don't trade extra for training. We don't tend to have specials either. We don't have limited time specials where if you buy within the next 5 minutes you get a discount. We have the same price all the time because we don't put pressure on people. We don't believe in doing pressurized selling, and we don't believe in charging extra for special rooms or special areas or special training. The training is just all included. You can use pointer figure charts. You can use different, whatever standard charts there are in NinjaTrader. You can use the Renko, whichever tick charts, whichever standard ones come in NinjaTrader, you can actually use them on that. Cliff, we determine whether the pattern's clear or whether the market is making a reversal at higher time frame support and resistance. Cliff said about these dots. So these dots are our MTP trend or our ATR stop, and it's if you're in a trade. So if you're in a trade and the market is strong, we deem it being strong on whether our trend indicators gone beyond our grey band. Then you can use your red and blue dots to trail your market. So that's probably more depth I wanted to go into at the moment. So as you can see, there's lots more to go into with MTPredictor. But obviously I've only got, 30 odd minutes here to do it. Ven, we don't expose our trade setups to any external tools. We don't do that because we're not a black box system. As I've said right from the start, we don't believe in black box systems because we know that markets are random half the time. Therefore, we don't expose the setups because we don't want people building black box systems, i.e. because we don't believe it works on 100% of the markets 100% of the time. That's a big mistake I think many people have tried to make black box systems over time. I just, my 33 years of experience, they don't stand up for the test of time. I mean, I've actually looked at basically the 87 crash, gone back to the 29 crash, and the patterns that we use here are the same patterns as 100 years ago, the same patterns as yesterday, next week, last week. It's all consistent. We're not moving our goalposts. We have got quite a lot of questions. You can use it on any markets. I've said we have people trading stocks, futures, Forex. As long as the market is liquid then and active, then you can actually use the analysis on it. If you're not available for our Tuesday training, we record all our trading webinars. So if you're a customer, you can review the trading webinars at your leisure as well. And obviously, if you've got any questions on those, send us an email in. We can then come back and review that in the next webinar. So we try to be as interactive and as helpful as we can to everyone as we can. Well, a black box system is something that's mechanical. It's just a slang term for a system that's basically mechanical and works all the time. That's what a black box system is, and that's what we're not. Right, there have been quite a few questions zooming through. So are there any questions that I've missed that you are desperate to hear? And obviously, if you have missed any questions, or if I've missed any questions, drop me an email. You can get through to me directly at steve@mtpredictor.com. Our website is mtpredictor.com. I'll perhaps put the contact details on. Perhaps if I put them in there, there's our contact details in the middle. Sergi, I'm not quite sure what you mean. So you might have to ask me that directly outside the webinar. Stephen, we don't do lifetime licenses. We basically do a subscription. So it's $149 a month or $197 a month for our pro version. In other words, it's a monthly subscription. So that means that every time we fix a bug or we do a new version, you'll obviously get the latest version because it's basically a monthly subscription. So as long as you're paying the subscription, you get access to MTPredictor. It really is as simple as that. David, yes, we have lots of tutorials. In fact, if I bring our website in just very quickly, if I can. Just very quickly, this is actually our purchase page. So you can see that's how you actually purchase MTPredictor. There's on our pricing and the monthly subscription. If you want to, David, you can go to our YouTube at the top there. Do you see there's a YouTube link? We've literally got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos. Like I say, MTPredictor has been going for 20 years. I've been doing YouTube videos for, I should think, almost 10 years. So there's absolutely hundreds of videos there on all markets, all time frames. Charles, Advanced Get. I mustn't talk about Advanced Get really because we're in a NinjaTrader webinar, but yes, I do know Advanced Get from many years ago as well. And that's partly why I decided to develop my own unique isolation approach to Elliott Wave to basically only work when the pattern's clear. In other words, what we're looking to do is we're only looking to use Elliott Wave when the pattern's clear. In other words, in isolation. And that's a move on from a lot of other Elliott Wave softwares who try to do Elliott Wave patterns 100% of the time. It basically just doesn't really work. That's what I found, is that it basically breaks down. So that's why I decided to develop my unique isolation approach. In other words, we're looking to only place your Elliott Wave counts on the chart when the pattern's clear. In other words, you use it in isolation. And that's the big difference between what I do here at MTPredictor and I've been doing for decades compared to most other Elliott Wave software programs, is that we only work with the clear patterns in isolation, and that then avoids the confusion of when the markets are basically going into the random phase and market patterns break down. To me, it seems like an obvious thing to do is only trade when the picture's clear. but trying to develop a strategy on how to do that is very, very difficult. So that's why I've developed the idea of having our, if I go back to perhaps another example, go back to perhaps this one, the idea of we only work when the market is making a reversal at our higher time frame support and resistance zone. So on this example of the euro, we're only looking to see when you have a higher time frame support zone off a previous pivot like this, and it comes in and the market is making a reversal. In other words, it's doing what you anticipate. Now I'm going to go down to the 4 hourly. In other words, if it's doing what you anticipate at the projected level, then you deem the picture's clear, and then you decide to do your analysis in that direction. So that's what we're deeming to do, and make it easy for you to decide when the picture's clear. We've got probably another 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes before we're due to wrap up. So I just wanted to finish on that. I normally say to customers, if they can describe what the large degree position is to themselves or to a friend within 2 seconds, then the picture's clear. If you're trying to struggle or take longer than that, the picture's not clear, you move on to another market, another time frame, or wait till it becomes clear. It really is as simple as that. We don't have a live trade room because basically we're looking to, because every single one of you is different. Every single one of you has a different level of experience, a different risk profile. So what we do is we teach you how to apply the tools, and then you develop your own trading strategy that fits in around with your own personal trading plan to then do your own trading. And, you may well add other things from other software in as well. It's up to you, really. We're just looking to, over time, keep the losses small and the profits large. Installation, Michael, is dead easy. It's dead easy. It's just an install file, and simple as that. Really, really easy to install. Right, so I think the example that I'd love to sort of leave you with is on that, on the ES there from a couple of weeks ago, from Friday, that basically sums up what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is have a market that's making a reversal at higher time frame support and resistance zones. We're then looking to see whether the market does indeed reverse at that level as it did here. We then deem the picture's clear. I'm just going to add a bit more data there for a second on that one. And then we're looking over time to hopefully have trades that are large in relation to the losses. In fact, the MES was better, actually. That's what I saw earlier, wasn't it? That one. That's the one we looked at earlier, wasn't it? The MES. That one. That's what we're looking to try and do. Have profits that are large and losses that are small. Right, so I've now come to a good point to finish. So I'd just like to again say thank you very much to NinjaTrader for allowing me to do the presentation, and hopefully you've all enjoyed the presentation. If there are any questions that you'd like to ask to me over the next few days, you can email me directly, steve@mtpredictor.com, or our main sales team, sales@mtpredictor.com. Our website is mtpredictor.com. So please do have a look around that. There's lots of resources there with more information about the software, and a lot more help videos, and there's a lot of stuff there. So have a look around that. If you need any help on where to go on that, again, either drop me or my sales team an email, and we'll be there to help. So I'd just like to hand back now to Tiffany, and again say thank you very much to NinjaTrader for allowing me to do this presentation. And again, thank you to all you guys who are coming in, and hopefully it's been a good presentation. Hopefully you've learned a lot, and hopefully it's sparked your interest in what we do. So stay safe out there, guys, particularly as we're all trading from home nowadays. So stay safe out there, and best wishes to all you and your family. And over to you, Tiffany. So thank you very much again.
Thank you so much, Steve. Again, I do want to give a special thank you to Steve of MTPredictor for a great presentation. Everyone in attendance here today will receive an on-demand recording of today's event. So just keep an eye out for that email. NinjaTrader Ecosystem is pleased to sponsor these weekly vendor events as a value-added service for our clients. So if you find value in these events, we hope you'll attend them on a regular basis. We'd like to remind you the information provided in this was of MTPredictor and not of NinjaTraders. All information was for educational purposes and should not be construed as trading advice. Again, we appreciate the time you spent with us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you in future webinars. Happy trading from all of us at NinjaTrader Ecosystem. And again, thank you so much, Steve.